There was a man in the Bible who was going to die in the morning. He didn't know the exact hour, but he knew it was coming. Herod had already killed one of his closest friends, a man named James, and the crowd had liked it. So Herod decided to do the same thing to this man. He had him arrested and thrown into a prison cell, and he didn't take any chances this time. He assigned 16 soldiers to guard just one man. 4 squads, rotating shifts, day and night. Some of the soldiers were chained directly to him, one on each side, so that even in his sleep, he couldn't move without them knowing. There were guards posted at the entrance of the cell. There was an iron gate leading out into the city, and that gate was manned too. This was a prison built around the assumption that this one man was not getting out, and the man's name was Peter. The night before he was supposed to be executed, Peter was asleep, not pacing, not praying frantically, not trying to figure out an escape plan. He was asleep, chained between 2 soldiers, in a cell surrounded by more soldiers, behind a gate that only opened from a position of authority he did not have. And then something touched him, a hand on his side, hard enough to wake him up. He opened his eyes, and there was light in the cell, and someone was standing there telling him to get up quickly. The chains fell off his hands. He didn't loosen them. He didn't work at the lock. They just fell. The soldiers on either side of him didn't stir. Peter thought he was dreaming. He got up anyway, because the voice told him to get dressed and put on his sandals, and something in him obeyed even though his mind hadn't caught up yet. He walked past the first guard post. He walked past the second, and then he came to the iron gate, the one that led out into the city, the one that no prisoner walks through on their own. That gate opened by itself. Nobody put a key in it. Nobody pushed it. It opened, and Peter walked through it, and it wasn't until he was standing alone in the street, with the cold night air on his face, that he realized this wasn't a vision. This was real. He had been in a cell that was designed to hold him until his death, and now he was standing outside of it, free, with no explanation for how it happened, except that something outside of his own effort had made a way where there wasn't one. I want us to sit with that story for a moment, not to admire it from a distance, but to actually think about what it teaches us, because there's something happening in that story that has very little to do with escape and everything to do with doors. Peter didn't open that gate. He wasn't given a key. He wasn't told a code. He didn't overpower the guards or bribe his way out. He was simply walking, and the door that had no reason to open, opened. Today, that's what I want to talk to you about. Not because I want to give you a story and leave you there, but because I think a lot of us are living near a door right now, and we don't fully understand what that means, or what it will look like when it happens. So let's slow down and actually talk about doors. What a door really is, and what it means when one is about to open in your life. People say God is opening a door, the way they say have a nice day. It becomes a phrase instead of a reality. So let's take the phrase apart and look at what's actually inside it. A door, in the simplest sense, is a point of transition. It is the place where one space ends and another space begins. You are not fully in the old room anymore, but you are not fully in the new one either. You are at the threshold. Think about an actual door in a building. When you are standing in a doorway, your body is literally in between 2 rooms. One foot could still be in the room you're leaving. The other foot is already stepping into the room you're entering. That in-between space is uncomfortable for most people because it doesn't feel like either room. It doesn't feel settled. It doesn't feel finished. That is what a door represents in your life. Not just a physical structure, but a season. A door is a season of transition, where the old identity, the old role, the old pattern of living is ending, and something else is starting. and for a period of time you are neither fully here nor fully there. This is important because a lot of people misunderstand what it means for God to open a door. They think it means an instant jump from one room straight into the next, with no in-between at all. But that's rarely how it works, even in Peter's story. Peter didn't teleport from the prison cell straight into safety. He had to walk, he had to pass the first guard. He had to pass the second guard. He had to walk through the gate once it opened. There was still movement required, even after the miracle happened. The door opening didn't remove the need for him to walk through it. It simply removed the obstacle that had made walking through it impossible before. That's the real meaning of a door opening in your life. It's not that everything is suddenly done for you and you don't have to do anything at all. It's that something which was blocking your movement is now out of the way, and now you are able to walk toward what's next. Let me give you a different kind of example. Something more ordinary than a prison break, because most of us are not going to experience a literal angel unlocking literal chains. Think about someone who has been working in a certain role for years. Maybe they've wanted to move into a different kind of work, but every attempt has hit a wall. Applications go unanswered. Conversations that seemed promising go quiet. Nothing moves. And then, without a clear reason, something shifts. A conversation happens that wasn't planned. A connection is made that wasn't expected. An opportunity appears that wasn't pursued in the usual way. That's a door. It's not the finished result, it's the opening. It's the removal of a barrier that had made the next step literally impossible before, and now that barrier is gone, and there's an actual path where there used to be a wall. But notice something. The door opening doesn't mean the new job appears in your hands automatically. It means there is now an opportunity to walk toward it. You still have to walk. You still have to show up. You still have to do the actual work of stepping through what has opened. This is where I want to slow down even more, because I think this is the part people skip. What does it actually mean to stand at a door? Not to walk through it yet, but to stand there, in that moment right before or right as it opens. Standing at a door means you are aware that something has shifted, but you haven't fully stepped into what's next. It's a strange position to be in. You can feel that the old room is behind you. You can sense that something has changed, that the resistance that used to be there isn't as strong anymore. But you also haven't arrived anywhere yet. You're not in the new place. You're standing in that narrow space between what was and what's coming. Think about how disorienting that actually is in real life. If you've ever moved from one home to another, there's a moment where the old house is emptied out, the boxes are packed, but you haven't unpacked in the new place yet. You're sleeping on a mattress on the floor of an empty room, or in a temporary space, and neither location feels like home. That in-between period is uncomfortable, even though it's temporary, even though it's leading somewhere good. Standing at a door feels like that. It's not comfortable. It's not settled. It can even feel like nothing is happening, because you're not fully out of the old and not fully into the new. But here's what I want you to understand about that specific position. Standing at the door. It is not a wasted position. It is not an empty position. It is actually one of the most significant places you can be, because it's the place where your posture matters the most. When you're standing at a door, you have a choice about how you stand there. You can stand there anxious, gripping onto the frame, afraid to let go of the old room, even though you already know it's ending. Or you can stand there present, aware, paying attention to what's in front of you, ready to move when the moment calls for it. The posture you take while standing at the door often shapes how you walk through it. Let's go back to Peter's story again, because there's a detail in it that I skipped over the first time, and I want to go back to it now. When Peter walked out of that prison and realized what had actually happened, he didn't just wander around confused. He went to a specific house, a house where people were gathered. He knocked on the door, A servant girl came to answer, and when she heard his voice, she was so overwhelmed that she ran back inside without even opening the door for him, just to tell everyone that Peter was standing outside. He was standing at a door again, not the prison door this time, but the door of the house where the people who cared about him were gathered. And even then, in that ordinary moment, there was still a kind of tension. He was outside, they were inside. He was free, but he hadn't been let in yet. He had to knock, and he had to keep knocking, because at first nobody believed it was really him. I find that detail meaningful, because it shows that even after a miraculous door opens, there can still be a smaller door in front of you that requires patience and persistence to walk through. The big miracle doesn't always eliminate the next small step. Sometimes you have to knock more than once. Sometimes the people around you take a while to believe what has already happened to you. That doesn't undo the miracle. It just means the process of fully stepping into what is open for you can take a little more time than the moment of the opening itself. Now, I want to bring this back to the phrase we started with, this idea that God is about to open a new door in your life. I want to explain what that actually means in a grounded and honest way. When we say a door is about to open, we are talking about a shift in access, something that was closed to you, something you couldn't get to before, no matter how hard you tried or how much effort you put in, is becoming accessible. Not because you suddenly worked harder than everyone else, and not because you finally figured out the secret formula, but because something on the other side moved. That's actually the language used in the verse I want to walk through with you today, from 2 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 12. It says, "Now when I went to Troas to preach the gospel of Christ, and found that the Lord had opened a door for me." I want you to notice the wording carefully, because it tells us something specific about how doors work. It says the door was found open, not that it was forced open, not that it was worked open through effort and persistence and strategy. It was found open, meaning it had already been opened by the time the person arrived at it. There's something worth thinking about in that. A lot of the anxiety we carry around doors comes from believing that we are the ones who have to make them open. We think our job is to push, to strategize, to work every angle, to somehow force our way through a barrier that isn't moving. But what this verse describes is different. It describes arriving at a place and discovering that the door was already open, that the opening had already happened, independent of a forced effort in that exact moment. That doesn't mean effort has no role at all. The person in this verse still had to go to that city. They still had to travel there, still had to be present in that place, in order to find what was already open. If they had stayed home, they wouldn't have found anything, because they wouldn't have been in a position to encounter it. So there's still a role for you to play. You still have to go. You still have to be present, to show up, to keep moving in the direction of where you believe you're supposed to be. But the opening itself, the actual unlocking of what was closed, isn't something you manufacture through sheer force. It's something you find because it was already done before you arrived. I think this reframes the whole conversation about doors in a really practical way. It takes some of the pressure off because it means your job isn't to force something open that isn't ready to open. Your job is to keep showing up, to keep being present, to keep walking in the direction you believe you're meant to walk, and to pay attention when you arrive somewhere and discover that what used to be locked isn't locked anymore. Let's talk about what it actually feels like when a door starts to open, because I think this matters more than people realize. It rarely feels dramatic in the moment. It rarely announces itself with fireworks. Most of the time, it looks like a small shift. A conversation goes differently than it usually does. Someone responds who normally wouldn't have. A circumstance that has been stuck for a long time suddenly has a little bit of movement in it, even if it's not fully resolved yet. These small shifts are easy to miss if you're only looking for something huge and obvious. This is why paying attention matters so much when you're standing near a door. If you're not paying attention, you can literally walk past an opening because you were expecting something more dramatic, something more clearly labeled. I think about this in terms of how people describe major changes in their lives after the fact. When you ask someone how they got to where they are now, they rarely say it happened all at once. They usually describe a series of small moments, a conversation here, an unexpected meeting there, a shift in circumstances that didn't look significant when it happened, but turned out to be the beginning of something larger. That's what a door opening usually looks like from the inside of it. Not one giant obvious moment, but a series of small movements that you only recognize as significant when you look back. So if you're waiting for something to feel dramatic before you believe a door is opening for you, I want to gently push back on that expectation. Doors often open quietly. They open in ordinary moments, in ordinary conversations, in circumstances that don't look like much on the surface. Think about a hallway in a building. A hallway connects two rooms, but it's not designed to be lived in. Nobody puts furniture in a hallway and calls it home. A hallway is meant to be walked through. But here's the thing about hallways. They're also where you often encounter other people. They're the connective spaces of a building, the places where paths cross. Standing at a door, being in that in-between space, is similar. It's not meant to be a permanent home, but it's also not wasted space. Things happen there. Realizations happen there. Sometimes clarity happens there. That wouldn't have happened if you had rushed straight from one room into the next without pausing in the space between. Now, my friends, let's bring this teaching toward its close now. And I want to do that by revisiting the picture of standing at a door one final time, because I want this image to stay with you clearly. Standing at a door is not a wasted position. It's not a failure to have arrived somewhere yet. It's a real and significant place to be. A place where the old is loosening its grip, and the new is becoming visible, even if it's not fully accessible yet. If that's where you are right now, in that in-between space, unsettled, not fully out of the old, not fully into the new, I want you to understand that this position has value. It's not nothing. It's not wasted time. It's the place right before movement. The place where your posture, your attention, your willingness to keep showing up actually matters. You don't have to force the door open through sheer effort, but you do have to keep showing up, keep paying attention, keep walking in the direction you believe you're meant to walk, so that when you arrive at the place where the door has already opened, you're actually there to find it. That's the shape of this teaching today. Not a promise that everything difficult disappears the moment a door opens, and not a formula for making a door open through your own effort, but an honest look at what it means to stand in that in-between space, and what it means to walk through an opening once you recognize it. I want to close now with a benediction, a simple blessing spoken over you as we finish. May you have the patience to stand well in the in-between spaces of your life. May you have the attentiveness to notice when a door has opened, even if it opens quietly. May you have the strength to actually walk through it, one step at a time, without needing every detail explained in advance. And may there be a steady sense of peace over you. In the room you're leaving, in the hallway you're standing in, and in the room you're about to enter. That's the blessing I leave with you today. Before you go, I want to ask you for something. And I want to ask it with real humility, not as a routine request, but because it genuinely matters to this ministry. If this teaching spoke to something in you today, would you take a moment to like this video? It helps more than you might realize, and it costs you nothing but a second of your time. And if you know someone who is standing at a door right now, someone in that in-between space we talked about today, would you consider sharing this with them? You might be the reason they hear this message at exactly the right time. I also want to invite you to leave a comment below, not just to engage, but as a small personal declaration of faith. If you believe a door is opening in your life right now, Even if you can't fully see it yet, type these words in the comment section. I am standing at the door, and I will walk through it. Let that be your declaration today, written as a simple statement of where you are and where you're choosing to go. Thank you for spending this time here today. I don't take it for granted, and I'm genuinely grateful you chose to listen all the way through. Until next time, take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next teaching.